Around to be comfortable, another shot to be confident, in an honest attempt at achieving a time well spent. When excessive consumption.
I'm Dave Strohmeyer. I'm on the Missoula City Council and represent Ward 1. I'm here today in support of passenger rail service in southern Montana, renewed passenger rail service. It's been about 30 years since we last saw the North Coast Hiawatha Amtrak passenger train roll through Missoula. I think there's been a convergence of forces over the past number of years that make passenger rail service today probably more likely to occur than it has in a lot of years. Increasing oil prices, concern over environmental sustainability, and I think this is the time to step up and make it a reality.
Michael Ackley from Missoula, Montana, a spokesman for the National Association of Railroad Passengers, and the folks and myself are here today to support Amtrak service through southern Montana, to support the students and the citizens of Missoula and the state of Montana. And people need another choice of transportation because the high gas prices and energy concerns with the environment, that rail is just as important now as it was during World War II. So we need to rally the troops and get this train up and running, and the people out there are ready to buy tickets, so let's get on board. Well, right now the state of Montana and Amtrak's doing a feasibility study, and they should have the results with that sometime this summer, and that'll give us analysis report on the track conditions, stations, and the whole route between Billings and Missoula. And this is a long distance train that's going to go from Chicago all the way to the West Coast, and it'll be a daily service. Well, again, I just think with energy costs and gas prices creeping back up, that rail is very fuel efficient. It's a civilized way to travel. It's a very cost effective as far as passenger status. So I think people are realizing that rail is making a resurgence in this country. Amtrak's ridership is up over 15% nationwide. So I think we're on the edge of a new area for passenger rail service in the United States. The students here, the ASUM student body, is trying to promote the southern route through Missoula because they need this for getting to and from school and during their holiday season, and this is a great way for students to travel. So that's why they're doing it.
I'm Kirk Thompson. I'm a longtime Amtrak supporter. I've ridden Amtrak all over America, probably close to 250,000 miles. Every year that Amtrak has been in existence, except for missed a couple of times in the 1970s. I've just returned from an Amtrak trip to Seattle and Vancouver, British Columbia. I'm very much in favor of getting service restored through Missoula, and I think with sufficient funding, Amtrak can be a very good, solid way to travel all over America. We just need more trains to more places and more connections.
I'm Mac Palmer. As you can see, I'm wearing a railway conductor's uniform. I'm of an age where everybody traveled by train. There weren't very many airplanes and the roads were not all that good yet. When I moved to Montana in 1993, I came from the Washington, D.C. area with U-Haul trucks and went back by Amtrak. So I would love to be able to leave from Missoula instead of having to drive up to Whitefish in order to ride Amtrak east or west. Most of the rest of the world has good railway passenger service. Surprisingly enough, we think we're at the top of all sorts of things, but we have very little.
Okay. Hello, my name is Mason Gim, and I am here because I'm the Vice President on the Board of Directors for a wonderful group called MontPIRG, stands for Montana Public Interest Research Group. Today we are here to rally for the rails, So that means that we are going to try to gather student support to bring back a passenger rail system that goes all the way from Chicago to Seattle. This is important to students because it will allow easier access and cheaper travel for them to get back to their hometowns all across the northern part of the United States. And it will also give students another option on ways to get around in this great big state of Montana. Well, right now with gas prices being what they are, the rail system will surely help reduce that, and it is a more sustainable form of transportation which Montague always supports. Senator Max Baucus and ask him to testify or to vote on the federal highway stimulus bill in favor of alternative transportation. And please don't be afraid to give Senator Tester a call. And Governor Schweitzer would love to hear from you about Rally for Rails too. Thank you.
All right, my name's Siri Smiley. I'm Vice President of the Associated Students of the University of Montana. And we're here today supporting Amtrak, this Rally for Rails. Several weeks ago, ASUM unanimously passed a resolution supporting bringing back, any steps that the state and our senators could take to bring back the southern Amtrak line along the Hiawatha route, and it goes across, and it's not only UM students, but students across the system. The route would go through Bozeman and Billings and Glendive, and would be able to take students back home or allow them to travel to other campuses or different parts of the state. And it's really important. A lot of students can't afford to have a car, and they can get around Missoula just fine, but they have no way of getting to other communities in the state or getting to and from school. So this provides a wonderful opportunity for students to travel in other ways, and more environmentally friendly ways as well. The other thing I think is really important, I remember my mom grew up in Glendive and went to the University of Montana and tells stories all the time about, getting on the train in Glendive and moving towards, they're coming towards the UM, picking up the friends in Billings and friends in Bozeman, and just it being a wonderful opportunity to socialize, start those conversations, make friends along the way. So I think for students especially, having the Southern Amtrak line would be a wonderful thing, and we're really appreciative of everything Senator Tester and Senator Baucus have been doing to bring that back, and we're looking forward to working with them more and seeing if it's possible. So.
Any day drummers say we all come from. Our lovers homes are sad. Why even bother, man? I pick up the bottom, Mr. Bus Driver, please let these people off. Little girl, girl, by the mini skirt, girl. Love it, making the towers up there. Music execution in the Taco Revolution.
I'm Daniel Veland, and I am an intern for Montague on the transportation campaign.
Hey, I'm Sarah Olafson, and I'm a volunteer for the transportation campaign.
I love you, Sarah!
We're here today to help get out the word about trying to get bringing back Amtrak to the southern route, running it through the major cities of Montana, Helena, Bozeman, Missoula all the way up to Whitefish. I mean, it's really difficult right now. You got to drive 2 hours just to get to the Amtrak line. But once you access that Amtrak line, you can drive all the way to the Washington coast or all the way to Chicago. So.
Yeah, I used to live in the Northwest in Salem, and I used to take the train to Portland all the time. It's a great mode of transportation. I think it'd do really well here.
Wonderful round of applause for Dave, please.
So who all wants to see Amtrak back in Missoula? Thanks ASUM and Montpert for putting on this event today. I represent Ward 1, which includes the Rattlesnake, downtown, and the north side in Missoula. It's bisected by the railroad. It has a rich history of railroad service in Missoula, and I think it serves as ground zero for renewed Amtrak service back through Missoula, Montana. The history of rail in Missoula goes back over a century. In 1883, the Northern Pacific completed its main line through Missoula. The Northern Pacific's passenger train, which would become known as the North Coast Limited, remained a fixture in Montana until Amtrak came into existence in 1971, service that only lasted a few years until 1979 when it ended. The legacy of railroads in the American West is not without tragedy and irony. Settlers, gripped by a sense of manifest destiny, laid claim to lands that had been occupied by native peoples for millennia. Market hunters, for whom the bell tolled, devastated legion herds of bison. Prairie sod was broken by plows and rivers ran red with mining waste, all facilitated by transcontinental railroads. The irony, though, is that the time has come for a paradigm shift in our transportation mentality, and passenger rail will be, indeed I think it must be, an essential component of transportation in the 21st century. For too long, Montanans have underestimated our ability to change national transportation policy. Sure, there has been those unflagging passenger rail advocates, some of whom are with us today, who have continued doing the good work of keeping this issue alive for the past 3 decades. But until now, we've lacked both the political will at all levels of government and a coordinated effort to make passenger rail through southern Montana a reality again. But after nearly 30 years without regular passenger rail service, the time for revitalized Amtrak service is upon us, and it's time to act. There are those naysayers out here in the community who may say that a southern route through Montana will never happen. And my response is, you're partially right. It won't happen unless we make our voices ring loud and clear from university campuses in Missoula, Bozeman, and Billings, to city halls in Thompson Falls, Livingston, Miles City, to the state capitol, to Washington, D.C., and the White House. The time for renewed passenger rail service in southern Montana has come. Some skeptics grouse that passenger rail should be completely self-supporting. Yeah, like the auto industry, airline industry, and federal highway system have really been self-supporting all these years without federal and public investment. That these other modes of transportation ever have been or ever will be self-supporting without subsidies is pure fiction, and it's a fiction that deserves to be buried once and for all. By some estimates in recent years, the federal government has dumped upwards of $30 billion per year into highways, $14 billion into aviation, compared with the meager billion or so that's spent per year for Amtrak service. Will passenger rail service in Montana require federal, state, and local support? Absolutely, and that's part of investing in a viable transportation system for all Americans, and that's okay. In 1961, in the context of the demise of the Milwaukee Roads passenger service through Missoula, and the Milwaukee Roads constitutes today the Kim Williams Trail and the old train stations where the Boone and Crockett Club is today. In the context of losing that passenger rail service in 1961 from the Milwaukee Road, the Missoulian at the time wrote, "Steam is gone from the U.S. railroad scene, and passenger trains are disappearing, failing to meet the monumental competition of modern highways, 2 cars in every garage, glamorous airline transportation, and the swarming freight trucks on the highways." Well, I can tell you one thing. If airline transportation ever was glamorous, it's not so today. Those days are gone for good. Transportation indeed ought to be more than merely being a means to an end. It ought to provide a meaningful experience in and of itself, and passenger rail can help fill that need. Transportation ought to respect the needs of both current and future generations, and passenger rail helps realize the goal of ecological sustainability by moving people more efficiently than either automobiles or airplanes, leaving a healthier planet for our children and grandchildren. Transportation ought to be equitable and serve all our community's diverse populations. Passenger rail indeed offers another option and is especially hospitable to our seniors and those who for myriad reasons find it difficult or impossible to travel by either motor vehicle or airplane. And the list goes on, including the economic development and tourism potential of renewed passenger rail service through southern Montana, about the ways it could knit together public transportation systems throughout the state. While for some, a global recession suggests the need to retrench and shelve our dreams and aspirations, I say just the opposite. Now is precisely the time to redouble our efforts and chart a new path for America's transportation network. And I believe a southern passenger rail route through Montana is part of that future. We absolutely do need to support and enhance the empire builder along Montana's High Line for those communities that have few other transportation options. However, it's unacceptable that the majority of Montana's population resides in southern Montana and is without the option of passenger rail. So what's currently going on? Well, last fall, the U.S. Congress passed and the President miraculously signed into law the Passenger Rail Investment and Improvement Act of 2008. This act, yes, that deserves a round of applause. This act, among other things, significantly increases funding for Amtrak, reauthorizes Amtrak for a 5-year period of time, and allows grant opportunities to states for expanded intercity passenger rail service. It also, thanks to our Senator John Tester, included an amendment that directed Amtrak to study the feasibility of reinstating the North Coast Hiawatha through southern Montana. So thanks to you, John, wherever you are out there. So what else is going on? Well, besides the Amtrak study, the Montana Department of Transportation is conducting its own feasibility study. Both studies should be done sometime this summer, hopefully, and that I think will lay the groundwork for knowing precisely what it will take to bring Amtrak back through Montana, through southern Montana. There's also a concerted effort to establish a coalition, a multi-state coalition devoted solely to reestablishing a southern route, the North Coast Hiawatha route through Montana, through North Dakota, through Idaho, into Washington, and then possibly down into Oregon even. So what can you do to help? I can't emphasize enough, write your congressional delegation, Senators Baucus, Senators Tester, Representative Reber. He is a little testy at times. Representative Reber, your state legislators, your city council members, your mayor here in Missoula, or from whatever communities you come from. It's important for elected officials to know that this is an important priority for you, because only if we hear that feedback will we make it a priority, unfortunately. Also, work with Montperd, work with ASUM. Join into this coalition once it gets established. We're hoping to get a website up and going soon, and stay tuned, and we'll get that information out to you. I think I saw a sign-up sheet over here. Hopefully people are signing up, and that might be a means and mechanism for you to stay in tune on how to ride the rails here through Missoula soon. So, in the final analysis, I want to say to all of us here today that within the next few years, not the next few decades, I would want us to be able to pick up a hot cup of coffee and a pastry down at the Saturday market, walk a few feet to board the North Coast Hiawatha, and then catch a ride to Spokane, to Seattle, to Bozeman, to Billings, to Chicago, and parts beyond. All aboard! Thanks so much for coming out.
Wonderful speech. I would like to introduce one of the best spokesmen we have for the Rails Association. His name is Michael Ackley. Michael Ackley, if you could please come up here. Michael is the president of the National Association of Railroad Passengers here in Montana, and is one of the best people we have around for advocating. Thank you, Michael.
Well, it's nice to be here, folks. I appreciate the turnout. I think Dave Strohmeyer said it all. I haven't got much to say, but I appreciate all your support. And let's just keep beating the drum, and let's get on board and let's ride that train. So thanks for coming out, and we'll see you soon.